Hello and welcome to Katrinas Creations. I am up in the craft cave today, which also known as our spare bedroom upstairs. And I'm going to be giving you a tour of different rooms in my house with the Afghans or crocheted blankets that I have. Some of them are knitted, so I take it back. It's not all crocheted. There are some knitted ones as well. Now, one of the questions I had talked about on a previous podcast was, what is the difference between a crocheted Afghan and a crocheted blanket? Is there a difference between the terminology? So I did a little bit of research in it, and the terms can be used interchangeably. A lot of it is a regional thing, or what terminology is used for your area. But there is also a definitive difference, and that is crocheted blankets tend to be more considered like all one color. A lot of times they are more your beginning crocheter type of project, whereas crocheted Afghans traditionally have stripes in them or geometric shapes to them. So your ripple Afghans, the chevron Afghans, anything that has stripes or geometric is considered technically an Afghan. So they are the more intricate or difficult or patterned Afghans. At least that's the definition I came up with from what I did from my research. So we're going to start up here in the craft cave, and I'm going to show you two Afghans or blankets, whichever you choose to call them, that I have up in this room, and then we'll go room to room throughout the house. So this one here is a granny square, and this bedroom up here is like a sage green kind of color. So yes, and this is about, most of my Afghan slash blankets are more lapghan size, and that's about the size of this as well. And I'll go up close so you can see it is different shades of green, and it is just your traditional granny square blanket. I do have to show you this though. I got this at an auction. Look at my light, a little spinning wheel. And we have a llama, of course. So the next thing I'm going to show you, this one is knitted. This is huge. It is a sampler blanket. The pattern book came from Leisure Arts, and there was, I believe, 50 different squares that you could make. Each one was different. And so you could mix and match and make it as large as you wanted to. So let me get this opened up. This is large as far as, this is a full-size bed here. And the Afghan will fit the entire bed. So it could actually work as a bedspread. It is large enough. And I had a little bit of extra yarn when I made this, so I have a matching pillow. That one. The other is a pillow cover from IKEA, but that one is made from one of these squares that was left over. So let me open up the Afghan so you can see it. So I'll start at the top here and show you the different squares. Like I said, each one is different. This is a mock cable. I actually made a pink sweater out of this same pattern. And then we have two more rows here. They're hanging off the bed, so let me pull them up. I just noticed when I looked at this that I have one row that is off here. Never noticed that before. And I've had this blanket for about 15 years. So, like I said, this blanket is large. Each of these squares is about 1 foot by 1 foot, and it is 5 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 5 foot by 5 foot. So it is good sized, but it was one of my favorite because you didn't get locked into one pattern. You could do it for just a short time and then you were done that square. So it was fun to play around with different lace patterns and not be overwhelmed by it. So this is our upstairs study, and this is a C2C, and I think the yarn came from Joann's, and it was like a 5-pack yarn. I forget how many. I think I had two bundles of this, so it's about 1,000 yards. So I went from the white to the light blues to the dark, and then I went back again on the other side. So it's more of a Afghan. It's not huge, but here it is close up. Like I said, that's a C2C, which means corner to corner Afghan. Now, I thought I would show you something before I go into that closet where I've got another Afghan. This is a quilt that I made years ago. It was a kit, so it was already like stamped. It's counted cross stitch, so you can see it there. And then you had to quilt around the outside edges. And the quilt frame that it's hanging on was actually made by my dad. So it's held by tension. That top, or this little bar across here, flips open, and that's all that holds it in there. It's held by friction. And then this quilt here, it fits about the size of a baby crib. This is called Cathedral Window. And my grandmother, on my mother's side, started making this for me when I was little. And then partway through making it, she had a massive stroke. She did survive, but she couldn't do the sewing any longer. So she gave me the material to finish it, and I never did because it meant more to me to leave it the way she had finished it. So it does fit about the size of a baby crib, maybe a little bit bigger. She was hoping to get it to the size of a single bed. So this was made probably in the early to mid 70s, I believe. But it was all hand sewn. You can see she had tiny little stitches there. So this Afghan, it's all different granny squares. It is wool from what I can tell. This was made by my great-grandmother, the mother of the grandma that made that quilt. So it was my great-grandmother. She died in 1965, so even though these colors do look very 60s, it was done sometime previous to that. I believe she was in her 90s when she passed away, so I'm not sure how old this Afghan is based on the fact that the yarn all seems to be wool. I tend to date it somewhere in the 40s or 50s, but I'm not positive. So this was done by, like I said, my great-grandmother. The same great-grandmother that made the Afghan made this quilt. The story I heard from it was that it was made from scraps of my grandmother's dresses, but they all seem to be flannel. And this is a heavy quilt because it's on the back of, let's see if I can zoom in here, mattress ticking. There, you can see it. It is on the back of mattress ticking. And this is so heavy, it's almost like the packing blankets that you get from the movers. It's almost that kind of thickness. So it would have been really, really warm. I'm not sure about the truth about it being made from my grandmother's dresses, but they all seem to be flannel or wool. It could be one or the other. And they did live in Colorado, so it makes sense that they would have had wool or flannel clothing. So now we will go downstairs and I will show you my Afghans down there. So here is, you can see I need to fix the arm cover right there. It's got a tear in it. This is all autumn colors because this is our bedroom. And this is a traditional chevron or zigzag pattern. So our bedroom has autumn colors in it. In fact, I will show you, this is a quilt I made. We do have a king-size bed, and I have not quilted again since I made this. I did not do a lot of intricate quilting on it because I don't have a quilt frame. I just have a quilting hoop, and since you have to work from the center out, I literally had to roll this up from the edges and throw it over my shoulders and try to reach into the hoop to try to quilt it. So I kept it very minimal as far as the hand top quilting, but there you can see it. And this pattern's called Maple Leaf or Bear Claw, one of the two. So now we're down in the living room, and I have 2 knitted mitered square blankets here. These were made from Advent yarns and leftovers. They're both about lapgan size. And here's the other one over on that side. And then this is my hexie blanket, and it's actually folded in quarters. This is my second largest Afghan that I have. So, and this one you're familiar with because I made that this year. And then over here, I have a plaid Afghan, and this is knitted. It's also about the size of the hexie. So the largest I have is the white one upstairs, and then we have 3 that are about the same size. And that's the hexie blanket, this plaid blanket, and over on this arm, you can see I've got a bunch of things I'm working on right now, like chickens. This is a crocheted lapgan, and this was also done with Advent yarn, and it is in the shell stitch. And then the last large Afghan I have, Dave is actually sitting on, so when he gets up I will just insert a picture. But it was a pattern done by Leisure Arts is where I got the pattern from. And it's also yellow and blue because that's the colors of my living room. So I hope you've enjoyed the tour of my Afghans throughout my house. If you have a favorite Afghan that you've made in the past, please send a picture. We'd love to see it in it for show and tell one day. So yeah, it does not, show and tell does not need to be projects that you've just finished. It can be things that you've made in the past that you'd like to share with all of us. So if you've made a nice Afghan that you'd like for all of us to see, please send it to KatrinasCreations@yahoo.com, and I will put it in the show and tell segment. Thanks for watching, and I will see you again on Saturday. Bye, everybody.